Uh, where does this album rank in Kendrick's catalog? Perhaps it's early to consider it. I actually don't think it's too early to consider these kind of things. I think it's early to maybe review it. But I do wonder from each of you guys where this ranks in his catalog, you know. And I say that because Kendrick to me is one of the very few artists. To me, it's Kendrick, it's Outkast, and for a long time it was early Kanye, where you could make an argument that every project was either their best album or their worst album.
Can I take a
Their catalogs were so tight.
yeah?
What do you think?
Can I take a weird angle with this one? And this is kind of piggybacking off of that brilliant analogy from Professor Sky. I reacted to that today. The whole Karl Malone. You got bars. Professor Sky has bars.
One second,
Piggybacking
pause.
off of that, I don't know if you can compare this project to the catalog that we've gotten from Kendrick Lamar, but this is to me the best K Dot project that we've ever gotten. Here's what I mean. I think that when you get a K Dot project, for those who were around for that mixtape era where he was heavily influenced by Wayne and he had kind of his own I think it was C3 or that era
C4.
C4, right? Where he had that era where he was kind of like attacking every beat that was in his direction. To me, this feels like an evolved version of that, where he's taking on non-traditional features. He's rapping on beats that are not what I guess the new generation of Kendrick fans would expect. To me, that's like comparing a legendary center to a legendary point guard and saying who's better. Well, they play two different positions. Like I wouldn't compare Shaq, the dominance of Shaq, to Michael Jordan. It's unfair to both because they play two different positions.
I would compare Jordan to Kareem Abdul-Jabbar though.
Okay, why is that?
Statistically, the dominance that they had over the league at the same point in time. If you take LeBron, Kareem, and Jordan, who I personally think are the three best GOAT candidates in the NBA history, it's the dominance that they've had over the league, regardless of the position that they played. That is the debate, right? Is Kareem getting how many championships Kareem get? 5, 6, 7, or
Sure, yeah.
he's got 5. The fact that, he had bad vision wearing goggles, he saw 10 people on the court or 15 people on the court and was still putting up these numbers. Is that better than Jordan getting 6 in 8 years as a guard, which is more difficult at a time when people are more athletic? Is that better than LeBron coming out of high school and spending $2 million on his body and being able to go 20 years, even if he has less titles and less maybe individual accolades? That's the debate to me.
So that point, though, because that is a great debate that people will still have, no matter what the stats say, right? Jordan could never be the best center of all time. So to connect that to the analogy of K. Dot and Kendrick with these projects, Mr. Morale could never be a GNX because they have two different functions. They have two different goals, right? They're structured completely different. This one is probably the one that has, I guess, the least amount of skits in between. It's the shortest songs we're getting from Kendrick, right? There's a lot of things like we're even getting a heart part. We're getting one of the heart series on a project. We never get that, right? There's usually a Lucy that leads up to the album that's coming up afterwards. So there's so many things that I look at that and I'm like, nah, even like the extension, even like the aggression feels very K-Dot-ish for those who have that memory of it. So that's why it's hard for me to look at it from just judging the discography, because I feel like it's unfair for what for A Pimp a Butterfly, for the role that played versus the role this plays. This could be probably one of the most important albums without necessarily being arguably the best album in his catalog. What it means for LA culture, what it means for this timestamp at this point in time.
Yeah. Word up.
I have it at number 2, if not one, most listenable Kendrick album off rip. It was the most replayed Kendrick album for me in this span of time. I know it's only been less than a week. I've played this album the most amount of times all the way through, not picking and choosing songs, just letting it loop, feeling differently and the same about some songs and more in love with some songs and getting emotional to glory every time I get there. So I think it's the most listenable Kendrick album. Damn is my favorite project, to give you, context as to why I would even love this project so much. But I think I have Damn at 1. I might put this at 2 in terms of what I enjoy listening to, but I would put Good Kid ahead of it in terms of project. But it's up there. It could be top 2 or top 3 for me when it's all said and done for Kendrick.
Sky, what you got? You're on mute.
So I really like Curtis's whole idea of destroying the question and ruining your fun, because I that's usually my job, is to say,
Right.
why are we having these debates? And so I think in general I'm going to take Curtis's position that it is hard to compare. How do you? But that is what Kendrick invites us to do, because how long have we been arguing? Is To Pimp a Butterfly actually better than Damn? Right? Like that's the real question. So yeah, I'm trying to write down the list. I'm trying to figure out where I'd put it. I don't know. I think of it more as like pairs. I guess that's what it is. So in my mind, I think, Mr. Morale and this one are like one step below To Pimp a Butterfly and Damn. So that's where I'd put it. So I pair them up as sort of like the different sides.
What do you think, Friday?
I think the album was great, but I would place it still fourth in my list of Kendrick albums. I think, in my opinion, Good Kid, Mad City is his best album. Then second, Damn. Then To Pimp a Butterfly, and then I would put GNX right there before Mr. Morale and the Big
Mr.
Steppers.
Morale. Rob.
Yeah, and we're not counting Section 80.
I mean, you can. Then you put it in there.
I was
if you
gonna,
want to.
yeah.
Okay.
Put them
Because
in.
I kind of agree with Friday. Good Kid, Mad City, Damn. Probably Section 80. No, Good Kid, Mad City, Damn, To Pimp a Butterfly, Section 80, GNX, and then Mr. Morale. And I love Mr. Morale. Mr. Morale is also, it's a hard listen. I think there's an emotional weight to Mr. Morale that I can't always press play, but when I do and I listen to it straight through, I'm just wild by it. I don't know what was going on with Mr. Morale. I also thought there were hits. I thought like Die Hard was a hit. I thought Silent Hill was like hit potential, and going back to maybe those should have been promoted more, like, you know what I'm saying, and marketed more.
Right.
And I don't know if that was like because it was his last TDE project, so any money spent on marketing goes against TDE's recoup. Like I don't know. Like there's all sorts of theories, but I thought there were gems on. I think Mr. Morale is slept on, but this is GNX then Mr. Morale towards the bottom for me, and that may change. It's only been out a couple of days, but that's how I feel right now.
I got
I want to say one thing also quick. This album to me has some of the most replay value out of his albums.
Yeah, I mean, I think that to me that's the most important thing, right? Like how great is a song if you don't want to listen to it is a real debate for me. I have, right? The more places I can use a song or an album, the better it is. Does it pass is it a 5-tool album? Can you smoke to it? Can you ride to it? Can you downshift in Mac mode and belly smack to it? Can you clean the house to it? Does it work in the gym? Right? The more places that it works, like Flashing Lights by Kanye West is a 5-tool song. There is no place on the planet you can't go where that song does not work, right? And so, I hear replay value is always something that's huge for me. Damn to me I think it's his best album. To me, it's his least referential. I love the range that he's able to capture on that. He got personal and he got hits and he's got trap songs that make you want to be a better person. To Pimp a Butterfly, I think it's his second best album because that was a risky album that he knocked out the park. No one is using those sonics, those soundscapes. It took people years, and they were dissing it, saying it didn't have no hits. One of them was tragic, but they gassed it, I think someone said somewhere, sometime. Good Kid, Mad
City. He erased it. It didn't happen.
Oh, yeah, my bad. He deleted it. It's gone now. I forgot about that. Good Kid, Mad City, to me, is his third one. And I like Boys in the Hood a whole lot, and I like his version of it. And number 4, I put this one. Like I put this one ahead of Section 80 and Mr. Morale and Big Steppers because it's a cleaner experience. It's a sleeker listen. It makes me start it over more. And again, it still has some of that courageousness, some of those pockets that they find. Not even just him, but like him with so many different other artists. Just really impressive to me. And I have a fun time listening to it because it is such an ode to so many different sonics and sounds. in hip hop history that have been so important to me over time. So even while he's still giving other people an opportunity, still sort of pushing his sound to a degree, he still finds the time to celebrate this culture that we all love, this thing of ours. And so I put that ahead of Mr. Morale and Section 80. But this is a hard conversation because you can literally say each one of those albums is either his best album or his worst album. And I might not agree, but I'd understand.
Justin, is it possible for a song to not necessarily have replay value because of the experience, the sonic experience you have with it? Because I'll be honest with you.
100%. 100%.
Right? I'll be honest with you. Meet the Grams is a phenomenal song all the way around in terms of the diss to me, in terms of
talk
the
about
song. But
It scares me.
But I can't play that in the gym. I played it in the car on the way home one night, and I was like, "Yo, I gotta really rethink life right now. Like, what am I? Like, I had to ask, what's my temperature right now? Like, I feel like I'm on a mission somewhere, but I can still look at that the same way I can watch certain movies and not necessarily watch it a million times because maybe it has a long run time. Maybe it's 2 hours and there's a lot of puzzles to it, but I still can say without a doubt it's a phenomenal piece of art. There's so many songs that are made to be digestible in replay value. They're a minute long, a minute and a half long. For me, that's something, and I'm just kind of asking out loud because this is something I kind of struggle with. Is does that mean that I enjoy the experience any less?
No.
No. Well, I'll say this real fast. I mean, one, replay value is 100% subjective. Like for example, I'm an album guy more than I am than a playlist person. Right. So my ability to get through an album resonates with me more than any other qualities or whatever. Right. And so we cry together, Auntie Diaries, the what's the other one? My Auntie Diaries, Mama I Sober.
Yeah.
Fantastic, phenomenal artistic expressions. I don't listen to them, but they're amazing. Not to say that they're bad, but that does make a big knock on that album for me personally, because how good is any album if I only like 2/3 of it? If I brought home a test and I only got 2/3 of the answers right, my parents were not happy.
But I want to combat that a little bit. Obviously, that's your opinion, but to me, I think the mark of a good song, a good art, is to make you feel something. So sometimes I don't want to replay that song because I don't want to feel it. Again, but it's still powerful. Like we cry, and it's because you mentioned We Cry Together, Mother I Sober. Yeah. But even We Cry Together, that is a phenomenal song. It is uncomfortable to listen to. You ever been in your man's crib and him and his lady are fighting, and you're just like in the middle of that shit, and you're just like, I wish I can disappear. Like I would. Like, that's exact. Like it feels like you're in the middle of it, and it feels so real sonically. Taylor Page, not even an MC, whatever her timing was on that.
Yeah.
That. Like they're rapping and it rhymes, but it doesn't feel like they're rapping. It feels like you're in that shit in surround sound, and it's a phenomenal song. It's an amazing song. I love it as a song. I love it as art. And then sometimes I feel like listening to it, and sometimes it's like I don't feel like being in that place because it's triggering. If I'm being even more honest and why it's triggering and it makes me feel something, is it reminds me of being a kid and listening to my parents fight. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, 100%.
And what that was. But fuck, it's phenomenal because it made me feel something like deep and heavy. I just can't go there all the time, and sometimes I have to skip it. So that's how I judge. You know what I mean?
I see it almost like intention. I think matters when it comes to this conversation too, like artistic intention, because if there might be certain intention, like I'll give like Kanye's example, right? When he dropped Yeezus, his intention wasn't to make a sonically pleasing album. His intention was to make you feel his disdain for the system and how he wanted to shake things up. He actually said, I think it was in his interview with Charlamagne, where he said, I know how to make a good intro. He said, go back and listen to all my intros. I know how to introduce an album. I wanted to put that intro specifically so you felt my pain. Now, I don't go back and listen to Yeezus all the time. It doesn't make it a bad album because I think his intention was to make it that. The same way a movie, you might make a horror movie where your intention is to scare the shit out of somebody and put them through a psychological thriller. I don't want to watch that psychological thriller again, just like I don't want to ever listen or hear about Meet the Grams ever again. Please don't mention it. Thank you. Scares the shit out of me.
You lied!
Just stop it. But damn, I think his intention was to make a project that was easily accessible to the mainstream, like you said, Justin. Hits, there was good features, there was good hooks, but also deliver a message in there. There's a through line, there's things that you can layer and piece together, there's God, there's a lot of things in that album. And so I think he completed all three of those intentions. Whereas I don't know that To Pimp a Butterfly's intention was to be the most listenable quote unquote album. So maybe that is still a massive success in getting his message across through that album.
Word up. Word up, man. This has been a spirited conversation for the past 2 hours. I thank everybody for tuning in. I thank you guys for joining. Final thoughts on any of these things that we have talked about? Lawsuits after rap battles and rap and accessible rap albums.
I'll go first. As far as with this lawsuit, I think this is going to be something to be looked at in the future. It's going to be setting a precedent moving forward to this whole music business and the way that the streaming has integrated with the music business. So I'm not going to put a knock on Drake for putting this in motion in the first place or having us even talk about this, because we're talking about it. And even if it's something that goes away from his part as far as a lawsuit, it's still going to make us look deeper into what's going on in the music industry.
Word up.
I think with these lawsuits, just as my parting thing is, I agree with you, Justin. I think you said it. I don't think this actually goes to court. I don't think this goes, or these petitions, I don't think it just goes to length. I think this gets settled. I think it's in nobody's best interest to watch this play out. And with that, I would love to see Drake take on this role as like, yeah, I'm trying to fight the system and make things fair for artists. I think this kind of goes away, and I think everybody goes back to the seats that they were sitting in. And I don't know. And what Friday was saying, I would like to re-examine what's going on and maybe restructure. I don't think on the business side much changes. I think there's too much invested in these labels to operate the way that they operate. I think this starts to go away and not too much changes past this is just my educated guess.
Mm.
Well, if wait, am I frozen? Or
No,
is Justin
you're good.
just
No,
still?
you're
Okay,
good.
Justin, you are super still. So
you can always check with the fire. Something's wrong. The fire ain't burning.
Thank you. I just want to talk about this actual stream, and I want to really credit. I want to thank Friday for being here. I want to thank Justin for putting it together, because all of us, well, 5 of us, have been accused of being Kendrick Glazers over and over and over and over again, and Kendrick stands and all that. And as I said on my video, I glaze all greatness. I don't care what form it comes in. I glaze, honestly, never mind. If it's great, I glaze it, right? And everyone says, good, you know what it means? Yeah, I know what it means. I'm just being a goof. But like the idea of having somebody who legitimately, sincerely defends and appreciates Drake on a very real level. All of us treated him with respect, heard him. He changed our minds on a couple, at least he changed my mind on a couple of things. And like, there's pushback and forward. Like, this really is how online discourse can be. And like, it's awesome because we actually understand what a Drake fan thinks. And I never hear from Drake fans. I only hear from Drake stans. And I don't care what those lunatics think, So anyways, I just, anyway, for your culture united, for naming it that, it's brilliant. Because if this is about the culture, this is the way to do it, because we actually have a more clear understanding. So that's my closing thought is this is great.
And thank you, Professor Sky.
Nice. Jeremy.
Sorry, I was still thinking about Me the Grams. I was no, I don't have too much else to say. I think I said everything I want to say. I just want to thank everybody for being here, and shout out to the chat and who was watching live, and thank you, Justin, the GOAT, for putting it all together. I'm honored to be on this panel.
Heard up. Curtis King.
Man. What you about to say?
I was nothing but compliments. I was gonna give you some complimentary, of course.
Man, no, I do want to start off just by saying thank you, Justin, for bringing this together the way that it's been. This has been zooming out of all of the headlines and the stories that we've covered. There's been a lot of things been going on. What I'm encouraged by is that there's more communication going on about the culture. What I'm encouraged by, and maybe this is a part of growing up in the 90s and seeing movies that always had sort of a semi-happy ending. I like to believe, even to a fault, that everything is naturally repairing itself, right? Even when I think about the idea of hip hop and separating that from mainstream rap, I feel like it being deprioritized, in my opinion, at that time was a good thing. Because now look at the folks that you're seeing, like the La Russells that are doing amazing things from their households and having things at the pergola. When I'm looking at, I forget the gentleman's name that has the porch freestyles, I believe in DC. Anybody remember know the gentleman's name?
Nucci off the porch.
Gucci, yeah, and he's brought in all these different artists, but hip hop is going back home, is what I see from that. Right after being mistreated in this industry and being abused and all these different things, I look at this and say, this too is good, right? I'm looking at this from that point of view. So, if in some weird turn of events in this Tubi movie that has been building, Drake goes from laughing at Kendrick for trying to free the slaves to doing a lawsuit that frees the slaves, what a hell of a movie, right? And at the same time, we get a great soundtrack from Kendrick in the process. Hey, what a hell of a movie, man. Everybody leave, go home, drive home safely, whatever the case may be. I think that everything is naturally sort of repairing itself. And the big corporations always wanted to run artists like machines. What's better than an artist acting like a machine? An actual machine. AI, artificial intelligence. Remember the Mecca rapper. What was the guy's name? Effin' Mecca. They tried to have an AI rapper that failed miserably. That's only the first version. I think all of this stuff is where it was supposed to happen. I think artists, especially any independent artists out there right now, streaming was supposed to be a temporary situation. But we always had to make better decisions for ourselves. And I think a part of that is going direct to consumer, having your super fans and building with your audience that's right here. And if it takes the industry going through what it does to ultimately get you to where you should have been and begin with, so be it. But I can't look at any of this stuff and feel like doom and gloom about what's to come. I look at this and saying it's all for the good. Look at us having conversations. I watch every one of y'all content, and I'm honored to be able to be in this room. So Justin, thank you for being the one that.
Word up, man. It sounded like you said something nice at the end. You hit mute. I think you're on mute now. But
I just said, I thank you for putting this all together.
Word up. I appreciate it, man.
And yo, Curtis, if that Tubi movie, if that's a real thing, that has rewatchability.
Oh, for sure. It's one of my favorite movies. Look, one of my favorite movies is Money Talks. But I also remember every household I used to go in the 90s after 96 had a Titanic double VHS case. You know how often that movie got watched? Probably never. Still one of the highest grossing movies of all time. The replay value is trash, but it's still one of the highest grossing movies of all time. You can't deny the special effects. So I look at this and I'm like, sometimes this looks like a cinematic movie. Other times I'm like, this can't be. This is a predictable ass script. This is a Tubi movie. I've seen this before.
Word up, man. I mean, this is we've done these. I guess this is the third one now, right? The first one was around J. Cole. I think the second one was around Lil Durk, and now we've got this Kendrick and Drake at the same time. Once again, this has been the biggest storyline of the year, and each voice that's on this panel, and every voice, truthfully, that has been a part of this at one point or another, has not only inspired me, but truly uplifted my spirit in a lot of different ways for a bunch of different reasons. And I think more than anything else, we're all very community oriented. We all look at the culture above the artists, and I personally am thankful for all the contributions, the outlook and the respect in which you communicate with your audience, but also in which you contextualize the culture. And big thank you to everyone who has been watching this for the past 2 hours. I'm still not the best at looking at the comments while this is actually happening, guys. So I'm going to hang on for another 10 minutes or so, just to talk to you guys. You guys are more than welcome to stay here as well. I want to say a big thank you to Jayan and Kelly Nicole, who've been moderating this. Big shout out to Sed. I actually made him a moderator there too with Sed's. I think Sed's on everybody's channel that's in here. Sed Dweller. And I want to do at least one more of these before the year is out. At least that's what I have on my calendar. But in one way, like me and Professor Scott just we did our second collab that's on this channel right now. Me and Friday have collabed multiple times on each other's channel. Me and Curtis, the same thing. And, and then Jeremy and Rob, I think probably through this more than anything else that's one-on-one on our channels. But this is, to me, along with other people that we all respect in this space, but this is the best stuff about hip hop to me. It's culture, it's competition, it's conversation, it's powerful, it's empowerment, it's uplifting. And so thank you all for always championing those values in your conversations in each of your channels with each of your communities. So 9-second applause to everyone.
Justin Hunt is here, it's all happening. Justin Hunt is here, it's all happening. The mathematical breakdown of this mighty game of rap we in. It's boom bapping. Systematical culture views us radical, it's all happening. Shaking hands and dapping it. Life through the lens of hip hop, from trip hop to yes, y'all, you don't stop, you don't stop. Justin Hunt is here, it's all happening. It's all happening, yes, it's all happening. Justin Hunt is here, it's all happening. It's all happening, yes, it's all happening.